chimney on it. And we made some neat new hardwood. But how about the Flochinea? This is Mango no More, and this is a tiny little plant. These are really neat. I have to remake it if I ever get Flochinea and bloom in. But this is really cool. And here's another one with a more yellow pouch on it. And kind of follow across to the Piercy Island, to the Orchid, I gave these as Ockentall. And some of the Ockentall now, if you make them kind of pop off with a basic flower, and then do this cross, you end up with white Ockentalls. It's kind of neat. And that's another very tough. Oh, there it is. I should say. Oh, here's a white Ockentall. I stand correct. But you can see some really neat characteristics from that. We'll talk a little bit more about the influence of Betsy Flava and some of the things that make yellows and whites as we get into some of the other new lines of breeding. I had a pop-off cross back to Betsy Hybrids, of course, St. Juan or St. I call it St. Lin, but I think the English pronounce it St. Juan. And Americans, of course, we pronounce it St. Owen. So anyway, no matter how you say it, it's really cool. Hybrid medium, this is our best one that we've got. It's in bloom right now. Medium-sized plant, very good, it's very good, it's a lot. Same way, when you make it, if you take out a pop-off made with a yellow best, and you cross it with best plasma, you end up with these faint yellow or light yellow same lens. Really neat. And very valuable for some of our new lines of breeding. Now, Phrag Hybrids comes in, or at least it used to come in 3 or 4 different colors: red, orange, bright yellow, and kind of peach color. And I'm sure everybody knows the story about how the Betsy Flava over in Europe, someone bought a Phrag Hybrids when it first came out, and it bloomed, and the person who bought it was really mad at the yellow, so she took it back, and the shop owner gave her a red or orange one, just what she wanted, and then turned around and sold it in the United States for $17,000. So, gotta be careful what you wish for. But Betsy Flava is really good for making small-growing yellows, and what we're trying to do is get a whole palette of colors rather than, it used to be, until Phrag Hybrids came out, you had pink frags, green frags, brown frags, pretty much that was it. And now we've kind of gone into some new territories. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But Best, which is actually the first Betsy hybrid that was ever made, makes a really nice small growing yellow. But there's some bigger growing yellows that are really worth growing. And here's a couple different, here's both pictures are down one of Penn Street. But it gives you an idea of some of the coloration that you get. And these actually branch, and they're really spectacular. Another favorite of ours in the yellow sphere is Lux Wolfie and Betsy Flava across the Voice-Reanum. And Voice-Reanum, and Cervicalianum would give you these squiggly petals like that, but they do not give you any color, which is great because they make good shape and you can put whatever color you want on them. It's really neat. Here's to give you an example. This is Yakima made with rosary, flava, cross-flower, flava. And all I'll say is, I can't remember what's in both of those crosses, but there's Betsy, Cervicalianum, and Voice-Reanum. But look at the two-tone that came out of this, and large flowers, big flowers on these. Really lovely. In fact, this has been awarded since it was talked to. Okay, how about Phrag Hybrids Betsy? So, back in the day, back in the late 1980s and 90s, in the early 90s, there was this little place in Salinas, California called the Orchids. You may have heard of it. It's kind of down the street from you guys. And I actually was doing a postdoc at the University of California at Santa Cruz, which was about half an hour or so north of the Orchids. And being a working grower, I made acquaintance with Caribou, and he offered me some part-time work, which turned out to be like an apprenticeship. And so one of the really, Terry was just bonkers in terms of, his ability to look at things and make great hybrids. And he's probably set the world on fire with his path, with most of his path hybrids. Well, when I came back to visit him one time, he had told me what he said, yeah, I want to put a Phrag Hybrids in every house, in every pot, and everybody could have a Phrag Hybrids. So I came to visit him, and here's like the better part of 1,000 Phrag Hybrids invested in the world at the Orchids. And I was like, this is great. I'm going to go through all of these and take out the tiny ones, and I'll end up getting tiny Phrag Hybrids. So about half an hour into my trek into the Phrag Hybrids, Terry came up and asked me what I was doing. I told him, and he laughed and said, yeah, I can call all the small growing ones out, and I don't want any. So it was just kind of a redemption for me. But anyway, it's impressive to see. But there were still some good Phrag Hybrids in the bunch, in the area of the couple of you. And, we actually we're like in the third or fourth generation of Orchids Phrag Hybrids now. And we just got one award. We got an 79.8 cc, which is amazing because there's so many of them that have been awarded. But Phrag Hybrids is a great parent for making unusual fibers of all types. And here's one that we really love. It's April Fool Cardinale, which is planted. It's wonderful. It's a plant that everybody should have a cardinal. It's from 1937. Branches, it blooms, it grows like crazy. But you put the best in this one, you do the best thing. That's really good to make a nice flat shape. And those are one of the ones that we have. But then there's Fisher Eye. Fisher Eye is relatively new compared to Bessie, which is from 1981. Fisher Eye is from the 1990s and named after Jared Fisher, who worked at Limited. And Fisher Eye, that's if you're a bumper or a splitter, because I happen to be kind of a splitter. I mean, I look at things from a horticultural perspective rather than a technical perspective. So, according to some current dogma out there on the botanical side, Fisher Eye is the same thing as Schwimmiana, which is the same thing as Manzuria, the same thing as a number of other things. Well, breeding-wise, that is not true. They breed very differently. And part of my talk is about that. But what do you see with Fisher Eye? I see color. And it's just amazing color. So we started playing around with Fisher Eye. Now, Fisher Eye is kind of a small growing plant. So it's really well to what we're doing. Now, remember that part we are at Gator Eye, that one poem about the mustaches? We crossed that with Fisher Eye about this. And the Fisher Eye just knocks it out of the park when it comes to the color that we can impart to certain parts of the flower. This is our cat breed. We've got several leaves on it, and really beautiful. Compact growing plants, really sweet. How about this one? We just renamed this cross. It's called Fall River, but it's Petite Port, and the Schwimmiana and the Hannah Pawpaw cross with Fisher Eye. And one of the things that you get in these Fisher Eye hybrids, and some of the other hybrids, is hair. Hair all over the place. It's got this beautiful, bullseye red center. It's got lots of hair here, and even the pouches of hair are really neat. And we're looking for different looks, by the way. So you might notice that some of the hybrids I have are named after streams or rivers. It's because my wife and I have a midlife crisis, which is fly fishing. So we kind of name our hybrids or cultivars after places we've been fishing-wise, because at some point I'm going to forget that I'm country. So I want maybe having a cultivar named after Fall River or hybrid named Fall River to remind you that I actually went to fish there in California. So, well, here's Manzuria, and this is, again, it doesn't look like Schwimmiana, it doesn't look like Fisher Eye, it looks like Manzuria. This is one of the first ones that got awarded. We just got an 87-point award 2 months ago on Manzuria Spring Creek. And it's really also been turned to the mix now. And so we've got Swingon and Zodiac Fisher all on the small side, pink, some are darker, some are lighter, some are pinch spread all over them. But there's tools that we can use to make some new hybrids. So look at this. If Zodiac was a Schwinn, was really like Schwingon, and maybe it is genetically, but hybrid, when you breed with it, like this would be Vesii flavum cross with Vesii flavum cross with Schwingon would be the kind of problem. And remember the anapholis I showed you? Well, the Mazura albinos don't look like anapholis. So I'm taking the horticultural perspective on this. And they also, a lot of the Manzuria hybrids have these pink flares at the petals or something. It's kind of neat. Now, selecting small, I went through some of the building blocks, but here's one of the first things I did when Fish Eye came out was I happened to be in Minnesota for a meeting or something that went over to visit Orchids Limited in Plymouth, and Jerry Fisher offered me to pick out a Barberlian for a small fee, $125 for like a 4-inch plant. And anyway, I picked out the plant, and when it bloomed out, this is the plant that bloomed out, and really beautiful color. That's the across the Fisher Eye, and it's a really small plant. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. So playing around with Barberlian, we can put it on kerosene and this mixer, and then I heard actually names across methods like this one would be pretty good. So NWOS Goldner is sort of one of the first steps in what we call lines of breeding. So there's a NWOS Goldner line and a pop-up line. This has sort of been the signature line for many years for our nursery. And that's cross Barberlian and Schwingon. And we get this really nice flower. I'm going to show you about 5 different NWOS Goldners and take a look at the diversity that we got. These are small ones. We love them. So this is another one with the hairs all over this thing. You got hairs on the petals, on the dorsal. Really cool. I'll just show you a couple of different ones. And this is one we use a lot now. It's Rob Griesbach, who's a pretty famous breeder in his own right. He got this from me, bloomed it, and then eventually gave me a piece of it back. And he said it's his favorite Phrag Hybrids. But look at, again, the hairs on this, the color on this, the saturation on this. So we started, okay, we have a hybrid building block now, small line, lots of color. Let's see what we can do with it. Oh, here you go. So we put on pop-off, ended up with bullseye, which these kind of pop-off bullseye, and we probably should call it hair because it's really weird. But here's one that's really cool, and this is called Little Shoots. So it's a very modern, I think it's probably anyway, this is a 3.5-inch pot. Here's the flower. Got new growths coming out, and this is really what we're looking for in terms of plant size. And then this one just got awarded. This is called Love's Pool, and the Little Shoots Love's Pool. And it actually has these chevrons on it, and when it got awarded, they were really pronounced, really beautifully dark, and the pouch is so airy. It's really cool. And, you never really walk around and look at frags and see if they pouches. But then there's kind of a conundrum, but something came up with this cross. We took NWOS Goldner and crossed with Vesii flavum. Why? Because I wanted to have a yellow flower with a pink center. Really wanted it. And so out of that seed pod, we ended up with flowers that look like this, flowers that look like this, flowers that look like this. And again, this is the line of breeding from NWOS Goldner on, moving on. Another one is Canadale and a pop-up from Cardinal. Castleman River. And this is the only hybrid that I've made that actually gave me the yellow pink center I was looking for, which is taking the Castleman River, the Leonard's Goldner hybrid, and crossing it back on the supply. And, but it's really, really hard to get this yellow hybrid. Now, here's really weird. Here's something really weird, okay? One Key Sunset is a hybrid from Chuck Acker. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I can't really what the hybrid is, but we crossed this with the NWOS Goldner and got something that looks like a miniature Jason Fisher. These are really tiny plants, big little dark colors like this. And I'm mentioning this to you right now. See how dark the flower is? Because later on, I'm going to tell you another story. Another line of breeding, of course, is pink panther swimming out across with fish around. And we love this hybrid. Now, you got to be careful with pink panther because it sells itself. So if you put something on it, you'll end up with more pink panther as well as other stuff. We found that out, by the way. And so we use it as a pollen. And here's a really nice pink panther. Again, the beautiful dark pouch, the great gold out here, nice form. And it's just a primary hybrid. That's pretty good. But we made some really cool things with pink panther. For example, we still have small run. Got the same kind of problem, investment problem, cross with kind of pop-up. Got a yellow dorsal out of it, not yellow with petals. Really cute small growing hybrid with picture on it called Blue Lady. And then this came along. This is a 2.5-inch pot here. Maybe a 3-inch pot. So this is spot on. Leonard's Goldner across the pink panther. The convergence of 2 lines of trees. And this is the epitome of what we're really trying for with miniature breeding. Now, the first one that lived, believe it or not, lived in New Zealand. One of my customers, Nikki Schoen, got a class from spot on. He thought really knew what they were going to look like. And she emailed me this picture and said, do you mind if this is the first look, do you mind if I name it? And I said, go ahead. And she made this spot on. And boy, it looks terrific hybrid. Now look at some of these spot ons. My calendar isn't all that great, but there's the Kelly Creek, Lucas Creek, and then there's this. This is the first miniature Phrag that broke the glass ceiling that the AOS judges in my region had. Because they didn't like miniature Phrags because they were too small. The flowers are tiny, flowers are like this instead of being like that. So, but spot on road revolution came along and just knocked the spots off. And they're like, wow. And after that, the floodgates kind of opened up. They now look at the proportionality of the plant and the flower rather than just the flower size compared to other Phrag hybrids. Kind of understanding lines of breeding. Anybody a judge? Lines of breeding. There's a beautiful one that's fairly recent, neighbor state trees. Now they come out solid color or they come out these nice two. And as Robert showed, there was the NWOS, which was on the cover of the start of this meeting, which is a spot on across the pink panther. That's back across the pink panther. And here's a particularly nice one. Here's the next generation. We took the April Fool across the pink panther. And one of my customers sent me this, and you can see how small the plant is growing in a little Dixie cup. But it's a nice looking hybrid. We haven't done too many of these yet. And spot on across back to the mustacheless non-folium Harvey Bader gave us Goldner River, which of course I forgot that I had registered it and then started selling it as Swift Runs. So if you have a Swift Run, it's really Gold River. Over 60, so like that. Okay, here's something. I didn't know we could do this. This is cross number 5,000 in the streams. Okay. That means we made 5,000 crosses. This was What color? This is color we've never seen in frags before, and just amazing. And at first I said, this could be fake. So I asked him to take another picture of it, which he did. So anyway, this was Darlene Thompson, and Darlene was actually the first one to bloom this, so she got the name. So anyway, I'm amazed at the different colors we're starting to see. I mean, you kicked around Phrag Hybrids long enough. You haven't seen too many colors like some of the things that are coming in right now. We are in the heyday of new colors, new shapes, new everything for Phrag Hybrids. Okay, here's another one of our hybrids. It's not a miniature. It's Saints Apprentice, Sources Apprentice crossed with Saint Lamb. But they come out pretty good. And you have to go, what happened to the Sources Apprentice? Sources Apprentice it's Sardinian by long poems. It's kind of long petals. But there's some really good ones. And this one's in bloom right now, bouquet. And so, of course, we had to cross NWOS Goldner to see what we would get. Well, we got something pretty good. We got Pseudomonas. And Saints Apprentice by NWOS Goldner. And this is one of the first ones to bloom. And we got the Asheville show with 7 spikes on it. And it got SNC and CCE. And pretty nice. Beautiful rose purple color to it. And if that's not all, we got another XSC out of the same seed line. Again, the flash on this is taking away some of the color, but it's that beautiful rose purple coloration. Here's one it hasn't gone to chugging yet. So, you just look at the color and the form on this. And so, these aren't small plants, but this is, again, the NWOS Goldner category that we have. But of course, we have to do something with long petal frags, and I don't know how many people are familiar with Extaminodium, which of course is named because it doesn't have stamina. This is stamina, it doesn't have to. But it's a very small growing plant from southern Mexico, from Chiapas area, and related to Pomboltii, which used to be called Pomboltii, used to be called Wayward. And boy, taxonomists need jobs, so they have to be feeding. Okay, so then we crossed this to Richrod and came up with extra rich. And this is an extra rich, and I think this is probably a 6-inch pot here. But it's I wouldn't call it a miniature, but it's a really nice hybrid. But it's not as big as like Grande or some of the other giant plants you get with water type breeding long times. But here's one that I really love. This is in a 3.5-inch pot. This is Ecuadoritis crossed with Lindenia. Now, people who know Lindenia know that it doesn't have a pouch, it's got a third long petal. However, when you breed with it, that never comes out with a long petal, it always gets the pouch. But this is with the tiny Ecuadoritis, and we got a really nice plant. And Lindenia is not that big. And this is a hybrid I really want to make a can of every puts to a bloom at the same time. Okay, how about this? Puts spot on Grande. My Grande doesn't look like this. This is a really cool hybrid, and it just shows the potential for the NWOS Goldner spot on type breeding when you put it with almost anything. You get this incredible saturation color. We have we'll be selling some seedlings probably in a year or two with Pomboltii, which is a very dark, long petal hybrid species from Central America. So we'll see what comes out of it. But then something happened back again in the 80s. All of a sudden, a white fragment even appeared, or at least we thought it was a female. It was a tiny little thing called Nexopedes aeropatia, and it's almost like a cactus. And it's very interesting to grow because you have to take pots together to get them to, because it sends out these long stones, so it's looking for the next crack in the rocks to get to. But the flowers are tiny, they're about the size of a dime, but they're white, and we were just like, wow, this is great. Well, we've tried for 15 years or more to get a hybrid with xerophytic and any other Phrag feed, and they are genetically incompatible. But a great plant to grow. But it got us thinking, what about white? Where are the white Phrags? What are we going to do? Well, there are white Phrags out there. Here's one. Now remember I talked to you about cervicalium, I said really through a color? Well, Schwinniak crossed with cervicalium is a silver eagle, which is a beautiful pink hybrid. And crossed on a Piercia, which also doesn't give you a lot of color. This one came out of the bunch, it's called, we named it Polar Ship. And branching, nice large flowers, really spectacular. You sell them in divisions of it from time to time. And we're also looked into some plants that segregated out of some of our crosses. And here's a St. Len that came out white, which is called Ice Cream, which has been really good for breeding towards white or white yellows. And out of the Cape County cross, the best block by Goldner, I showed you, it goes from red to white with big center to almost white. And these come out like a very faint pale peach and then just go pure white over time. So we've got some building blocks, and I've got to start playing around with it and making some whites. But then, something unexpected happened. Remember that Bingo Hill sunset, like a miniature Jason Fisher, really dark red? We crossed out the St. Len Club and that white one, and we got this. Where did that come from? And we got an award of distinction, meaning it's a new love, new direction of breeding. But I can't tell you how it happened. But it wasn't love. I mean, it wasn't just one plant. We had all kinds of whites and other things out of Castle Rock Creek. In fact, I could give an entire presentation on Castle Rock Creek, because it's just such a weird item. But we're planting whites right now, right? And then I was able to get some pollen from a friend of mine who had a albinistic or more albinistic form of Manzuria. And what I did was, there's a Aircon Foundation that has some terrific plants. And when I was there, I saw this plant here, and then I was able to, I saw this plant at the Aircon Foundation, and then when I bought June Orchid Estate Phrag Hybrids collection, she had bought from Frank Smith, and he had traded Eric Young. He got this plant, and through Frank June, we ended up in our nursery. This is really one of the building blocks of what we do. This is a medium-sized plant, but it grows and blooms like a fool and branches like crazy. And it's really become sort of a pedestal that we hang a lot of other different processes on. Again, I can do a Brad's talk. Well, you can't really take a picture of a group of white Phrags easily in greenhouse. But we made this cross, Brad's flowering cross with that albinistic Manzuria, and we call it drifted steppe because in southwestern Wisconsin, we look for fish. And here's some of the flowers that came out. Some of these are really spectacular. A couple of them are awarded now, but I just love them. This is part of one of the more white homes, but you get incredible markings on these, and these beautiful crystalline white petals. And so this is kind of a new line breeding that we see as being sort of the foundation for getting to more and larger pure whites. Now these are small, medium-sized plants, but we're also shooting for larger whites as well. And here's another one on Brad's. Put that white St. Len on that Brad's, and ended up with 7 mountains. And these will be coming out next week. We got a whitish form of Pon Pon Dash. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, if you cross this with that, what are you going to get? Because there's no book about it, right? It's empirical, if you will. And we took down a Pon Pon Dash, and we crossed, let me see. Okay, Pon Pon is one of the parents of Cape County, and no, Cape County is what I'm sure myself. Minerals Goldner and Bessie Flower, Cape County. Well, what we did, and the point that they got off of is, if you take two white Hannah pop-offs or two white Cape counties, Sunset Glacier has to teach, and cross them, you get yellows, pure yellows. And that's because the Bessie Flower is segregated in the background, and when you put them together, they're like, man, we're back together, we're yellow. And so, one of the things that come out of this is this whole thing is swimming islands or fishery have the potential to cancel yellows, because when you have them in a cross with, say, Bessie Flower, they come out more white than yellow. When you put them together and the dominance is back in, then you start getting these pure yellows again. And from my perspective, having done some reading on this for like 5 or more years, it's actually harder to get yellows than it is to the whites. So what are we going in the future? I just have a couple more slides on it. And people might know the Bessie neighbor, Phrag Hybrids, which comes from Ecuador. There's a lot of Hybrids in the trade that kind of look like this. This is from a wild collected Hybrids that I got from Ecuador, and yellowish pouts, yellow flares, and branches like crazy. And so we wanted to introduce Hybrids into the mix, mainly to get the branching, to be honest with you, because Phrag Bessie doesn't branch on this. But we put Hybrids with Piercia. He got this beautiful small growing plant called Petite and Cat, and it does branch. It has 1, 2, 3 flowers in this shot here. I guess I like it enough to breed it too. It's kind of tight. How about this? Hybrids classic very young. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's got 3 branches in the main stem from the Hybrids. They're very young, as of course Bessie full, and they don't use the French. So Wayne, this is pronounced Wayne, and I can learn how to say it. Well, this word has more values than anything else. So Hybrids across with Bullhorn, pale Bullhorn, they give us Lafayette, and this is a cross that came out of the Arizona Foundation. And it's become really an interesting part of our reading collection because of what it does to color. For some reason, when you breed with Lafayette, which is half Hybrids, you get an amazing color. This is a cross we made with Mount Golden. It's called Lafayette times Bessie. And the color of this, the saturation of the reds is just outstanding. And there are other ways you can get outstanding reds too, like this Jason Fisher, tetraploid Jason Fisher. These are basically 3-centimeter petals. This is huge flower. So we're really looking at making some great saturated reds with Lafayette, with Jason Fishers, and some of the other things. And unfortunately, our good friend Hadley passed away. I don't know if people know that. He passed away this spring, and about 8 or 10 days before he died, he called me up and said, "Bill, come down and buy my Phrag collection." And so I drove down with Nancy Alford and we put in a cargo van, and we picked up, I didn't even know he had a Phrag collection. I thought it was a background. Picked up about 300 frags from Hadley. We're very glad to help his family out financially. And, we're sorting through it, and there's all these Jason Fishers, and a bunch of them are like the ones that come from the Arizona Foundation. So you'll be seeing some of those things from hybrids and divisions as we move along. And yes, a lot of other money frags too. But that's another story. I digress. But here's something that's unusual. Back probably in the 1970s or 80s, a friend of mine got an imported fragment in Piercia, and it bloomed out as this. It's not a Piercia, it's Tesla-Piana, which I believe is a natural hybrid, but it's from Venezuela, and it branches. So these are big flowers, and they're big, long petal flowers with, big, long petal flowers. And this is something that we started to play with. We've done a number of crosses now with this, with long petal ones, to see if we can get branching long petal hybrids. Who knows? And of course, there's the elephant in the room that we haven't even talked about, and still talk. And that's, of course, the Kovaceae hybrids. Phrag Hybrids is huge, size of a dollar bill, purple flower, and we're just starting to get into the first, second, and third generation hybrids now. But that's a whole other talk, and I'm not going to bore you with any more shots. If you're ever in DC, we're a mile from Pennsylvania Avenue, where the White House is, but 32 miles out to the southeast. So you can come down and check our place out. We've got a 3,500 square foot greenhouse, which we grow on 3 levels with 5,000 square feet of plants. But it's a lot of fun to have the opportunity to present to you folks and to share some of the knowledge we have. I mean, it's something that's important. It's hard for me to sit down and write a book about it, but I think it's good to have people thinking about where things come from, what the lines of breeding are, and what you can do with them. And as you can see on one of our breeding benches here, there's a lot of things you can do with them. So, thank you very much for the invitation. That's the end of my presentation. Robert, if there's time, I'll be happy to try to answer some questions.